Hello, and thank you for checking out another video. Today I want to get into something unique, and it has to do with our current invasion of Venezuela and what that could do to our current real estate market as well as real estate prices in our hemisphere as well as in our country. Okay, so without further delay, I believe that our invasion of this country down here called Venezuela is going to have an impact eventually on our market. And I just kind of want to talk about something that I've been monitoring over the last decade and trying to pay attention to. Obviously, most of us that are going to be watching this video live up here. I have been doing a lot of travel recently down in the Caribbean and in Central America for a variety of reasons, but one of which is because I believe that our real estate market is a little bit out of whack with the rest of our hemisphere and area. Many, many years ago, I traveled to this country right here called Belize. Belize is a tiny country. There's not much there, but it's a beautiful country. There's some nice things. When I went to Belize, I went to some islands that were out here. I've been there several times, and kind of what I want to focus on today is this tiny place called Secret Beach. Okay, it's a very tiny beach. It's right in here. But when I was at Secret Beach many years ago, Secret Beach still had, I wouldn't say frontage, I wouldn't say water frontage lots, but within a mile of the water and probably within a quarter mile of the water, there was an entire community that was being developed that had land for sale for the price range of $30,000 to $50,000. Okay, now, this area is probably not exactly what you're thinking. Currently, they did not have electricity. They did not have a lot of the modern amenities that you and I would experience here in the United States. However, this beach was an up-and-coming beach. It had the ability to acquire a lot of the same amenities that we have today here via solar and rain catchment systems, and created wastewater systems that they had already had functioning for many, many years, and they still use today. I'm not sure if electricity has been brought to Secret Beach yet, but I knew it was in the works. Anyways, my entire point is Secret Beach is a beach area that, if I compare that to Florida or California, was priced, I don't know, maybe 1/10, maybe 1/20th of the price of what you'd experience in a typical Western beach community. Belize is just one minor example. Let's go back to what this might mean for why Venezuela is an impactful thing for us to monitor and watch, and how a country like Belize or maybe Panama, which I'm going to get into next, might be an opportunity that we might be more eager to consider now than maybe in the past. Okay, so what does our invasion of Venezuela have to do with this? I don't know. It might have nothing at all to do with this, but in my opinion, I think that our hemisphere and our geographic location being close to Central and South America has some attractive features that many U.S. citizens don't really take into account when they're thinking about their real estate transactions or their real estate purchases. And I think that's something that is going to change over the next decade and possibly has already started changing. This is an opinion. I don't know this for sure. It's something that's piqued my interest for sure, and I wouldn't be surprised if this continues to change more over the course of the next few years. So as we invade and have invaded Venezuela, this could be a sign that Central and South America are going to become more, I guess I would use the term U.S. oriented. I don't really know what exact word to use. I don't think they're going to become our territory. I don't think we're going to control most of Central and South America anytime soon. However, I think the world is becoming smaller. Meaning, I think as we get more financially independent, we become wealthier. I think our accessibility to some of these markets, and I think the attractiveness for some of these markets to have Western investors vastly increases. Okay, so I think between the price differences that we see in, let's just pick on Florida, right? If we were to look at Florida and compare that to Belize, the price differences alone are vast and wide. And I think that enough is eventually going to attract some people to different markets than the US market. But I think as we see countries like Venezuela, I'm not a big fan of us going into another country and just having our way with them. But the U.S. federal government doesn't usually call me and ask my opinions before they act. So I'm just reporting the news as it stands. And currently we are invading Venezuela. We have kind of taken over the control of that country. And as we just observed the facts that are happening, this is something that might continue. Right? I've heard Trump talk more about Colombia recently and give them some, I guess I would say, warnings or some lip service as to his frustrations or maybe his accolades for Colombia. And as we see this happen, I know Trump has made comments about Greenland and Panama. We've all heard of people talking about the Monroe Doctrine, which is our hemisphere kind of aligning more. Anyways, my point would be Central America, South America has a different real estate market than what we have in North America or even in the United States of America. And I think it's something to take note of. I think as we invade Venezuela, and I think as we see more people more accepting of these places that were so-called dangerous, which personally I can tell you, I've been to Mexico probably a dozen times. I've been to Panama, I've been to Belize, I've been to Costa Rica. I've been all over Central America. I've been all over the Caribbean. I have never at one point in time felt any risk myself being in these countries. So if we continue to expand our reach into different markets as a country, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the attitude towards these countries changes over time. And for us as real estate investors, in my opinion, one of the most important things that we can do as investors is thinking a little bit outside the box, right? So what does that mean? That means maybe you want to get a jump start on at least familiarizing yourself with these other markets now so that when this change occurs, you have awareness as to what areas might be more suitable for your interests. Okay, let me go to another spot here on the map. We were here recently in Panama. We spent a lot of time in Panama City. We spent some time over here at some San Blas Islands, which were absolutely amazing and stunning. And we also spent some time down here in this area right here. And this is another area that I want to focus on. We stayed in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo in this area right here. I found that specific condo that we stayed in. This was waterfront, right on the beach, 2-bed, 2-bath. It was a structure of probably, 25 stories. It had a couple nice pools. It was very nice. When I left there, I found some of these, like what we stayed in, which was water facing and waterfront, staring out at the water. Those were in the range of like $220,000, $230,000. And there were also some condos that were on the backside of this facility, but still had water views. They were priced, still 2-bed. I believe this was a 1.5 bath, but 2-bed, 1 bath, let's just say. They were $135,000. $135,000. This is in a 25-story complex. Most of your utilities obviously are already there. They're perfectly usable. They're perfectly fine. There's no shortages of anything. You have restaurants in the area. You have some commerce in the area. I never once felt at risk. Super safe. So we're talking about let's just say $150,000. I haven't followed the prices recently. However, the people that I talked to down there said the prices on their properties in that area rarely move. So they had been in that price range for years. He mentioned a decade, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they've already eked up. Let's say $150,000 for a 2-bed, let's just say on the conservative side, 1-bath condo in a nice area that's safe, and I can't say it's as clean as Florida would be, but let's say it's safe and clean by and large. Do we have any idea what that sort of property would cost in Florida? I mean, I can't even comprehend it. I bet it would be 10 times that cost. Maybe not, but at least 5. In fact, I ran into a guy who was a realtor from Naples in Florida that had recently moved down to this area because of the cost and the dues, the monthly amenity fees for his Naples condo. This was a realtor in Naples that had moved to Panama specifically because of our belligerent cost in the United States. He loved it. He was very happy. I think this is a trend that's going to continue, you guys, and I think this is something that we should be aware of. I think a lot of these countries down here in this Central America location, Costa Rica, I don't know about Nicaragua, El Salvador has kind of been made popular from the Bitcoiners that have moved into that area. Belize is nice. I've spent some time in Honduras. That's a decent country. Obviously, there are unsafe places in these countries, just like there are unsafe places in my hometown of Fort Wayne, Indiana, just like there are unsafe places in Chicago and New York. Obviously, you need to use common sense when you're in these countries, but they are just as safe as we are in the United States. And I would encourage us all to consider, hey, we're invading a lot of these places. I don't want to say we're taking them over, but the world is getting smaller. And us thinking that we have to stay in a real estate market that's vastly overpriced, to me, I just don't think makes a whole lot of sense if we have other options and other alternatives. Now, are there going to be costs to get there that are more than it might take to get to Florida? Of course. But I can tell you this. When we flew to Panama City out of Chicago, the cost of the flight was the exact same, if not cheaper, than what it would have cost to go to Miami in that same year. So, are the costs always more expensive? In my opinion, no. However, at times they can be, and depending on the airport you're flying into, depending on the size, it can be very expensive. So, I mean, I would just consider this. If you're in the real estate market, don't bury your head in the sand. Keep your options open. I'm not saying this is perfect for everyone. Heck, I'm not saying this is perfect for you. But as we continue to invade other countries and the world continues to change, we should keep our eyes open and our ears open to other opportunities and other things that might be of interest to us moving forward in the real estate world. Hope this was helpful. Have a good one and talk to you soon.